Hey guys, welcome back to the Live Out Love podcast. I am so excited for this week's guest. Maia Huff is on the podcast.
Oh,
And
thank you for having me.
yes, I'm so excited. She came to Clemson last week and spoke at our FCA. And I had to go up and just be like, Maia, like, can you just, like, I just would love for you to come talk on this. Like, you have such amazing advice and you're so inspiring. And she talked a lot about flourishing when she came to FCA. And it was just so cool to, like, realize like how much like your relationship with the Lord and how like everything that you talked about was just amazing and flourishing, and I just can't wait to learn more about it. But why don't you talk a little about yourself, what you do and what you've been starting right now? So
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. This is so sweet. I got to listen to the prayer podcast. You sent it to me, and I
Aw.
love listening to it. I had it on while I was working the other day. So just thank you so much for sending that. And I know that this is just helping so many people live out love. So I'm excited that you decided to bring me on. Yeah, but my name's Maia. If I haven't gotten the chance to meet you yet, my name's Maia. I probably haven't gotten to meet you yet, and I wish that I could and give you all a big hug. But yes, my name's Maia, and I'm 23 years old. I graduated from Florida State about a year and a half, 2 years ago. So weird to say. And we live all over the place. I'm married to the love of my life. He plays baseball right now. We're in the minor leagues, working our way up, hopefully this season. And so we live in like West Palm area for off season, and then we live in wherever up north they want us for the other 6 months of the year. So we live in Delaware or Philadelphia or Pennsylvania or New York, all the fun places. So we travel a lot and really enjoy it. And during all that, it's just the coolest thing ever because the Lord has just given me. I started a business in college called Designs, and I was making hats and just faith-based clothing to spread love, truth, and light because I really struggled in college and in life, and I just like needed a positive reminders to like continue walking with the Lord and like to spread love, truth, and light. And so I started making clothes and stuff to just kind of remind myself. And then people ended up liking clothes. And then I started making them stuff. And then we made products and art, and we do a bunch of fun things like that. And it's been really fun. And so I have that. And then I just started with one of my best friends, my cousin actually, Blakely. We just started a company called Overflow, and it's Overflow Living, and it's about living out of the overflow, like in Psalm 23. And it has been awesome. And that's kind of where like that flourishing message came from. We're actually doing like a study on flourishing. And we are basically creating that company to have a place for all the resources like events and studies and Christian life coaching and all those things to just be in one place. Because like I said, I struggled and I still do. And it's just like to have a place where all the resources are that like help you walk with God is just so awesome. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. I'm blessed to get to do it while we travel. So I like everything comes with me. So like all my art, all my hats and things, it all comes with me. And it's been really fun. So yeah, that's kind of a little bit about what I'm doing right now. No kids, just a little baby. Well, not a little baby, just a little fur baby. And he's the cutest in the world. And that's pretty much all we got right now. And we're enjoying this sweet season.
That's awesome. So I saw that you posted like the Instagram and the site went up. So when does like does it come out soon? Like the whole plan or what you have starting?
So Overflow, that's such a great question. Thank you for asking that too.
Yeah.
So Overflow Living, like our website and stuff is up like to learn more about it and like just kind of starting. And then our flourishing study, which is like a full 30-day online course where like you go on every day and it's either like a written video or a written portion by me or Blakely or a video of like the both of us or a guest speaker. And so for 30 days, you really dive into like what flourishing truly is and like what false flourishing is and like just why you would even want to flourish. Like, does the Lord intend us to flourish? And then the next is about spiritually, like flourishing like spiritually with the Lord, and then relationally and physically. Because a lot of times, I don't know about you, but I think that whenever I was first even getting into my faith, and even now, I can compartmentalize like God. Like I'm like, oh, you could have my spiritual life, you could have, and you can kind of come into my marriage or whatever. And then, but like my physical body, like you don't care about that or whatnot, so you look to other things, to kind of get advice on how to take care of your body or how to nourish your body. And this is a place where it's like, no, like the Lord intends, like he made us mind, body, soul, like he intends for us to flourish in every aspect. And so it's like the first kind of like the first 3 kind of that we've come out with is spiritually, relationally, and physically. So over the 30 days, you'll learn how the Lord intends you to flourish in those aspects. And so it's been really fun. So that launches February 1st. And it's for like only women. Sorry, guys, if you're listening to this. Women of all ages. And so it'd be a fun one to do with friends, or, if you're looking to dive deeper into like your walk with God. But thanks for asking. That was sweet.
Yeah, no, I'm so excited for it. I've been checking out, I checked out the website and your Instagram, like, it's so cute. I can't wait for it.
That was our heart and soul went into that. Thank you. That means a lot.
No, I love it. And then I love that you said like bringing like the Lord into all those aspects in life. Right now I've been working on like one of the girls I do a Bible study with. She was teaching about how like inviting the Lord into like every aspect of your life. And so like she'll literally just be like, hey God, like I just invite you into wherever she was. And she was talking about how one time she was running and she was like, I don't want to run, like I don't want to do this, but she was like, hey God, like, I'm gonna invite you into this run. And she ended up like running so long and just like having such like so much endurance, but it was because she like invited the Lord in. So I love that you're like teaching that, because I feel like it's such an important part of like Christianity and being like walking in with the Lord is like inviting him into like every day, because you're right,
lights in that, like that is like, I think that sometimes we think that it's like just for us, but it's also like the Lord like delights in that, like he delights in his children, like about every little detail, like even we have a dog, like we prayed and asked the Lord, like, should we get a dog? And just like the whole story is so crazy of how he like literally gave us like the perfect dog.
That's which amazing.
It was just like all the Lord. But we like had prayed and asked him, like, and he just like loves showing up in your life. That's something that I've really I was listening to this Francis Chan podcast, and he was up on stage, and he's like, okay, honey, like come on up, and his wife's like, what? And he's like, come on up on stage. And she has no idea this is happening. So she walks up on stage, and she's like, and he goes, see how confident I was that she was going to come whenever I asked her to like come and meet me and to come be here. That's how confident we should be when we're asking the Lord to come throughout our days, to meet us throughout our days, whatever it is. And I was like, whoosh, like blown. And so and I've just been like putting that into practice, like every detail of my life, like what I'm cleaning, what I'm doing, like genuinely everything. And let me tell you, like, it is just like how he said, like the Lord loves showing up. He is already there. So it's just delights in him to completely get to do that every single day with you. So I love that you said that too.
That's amazing. Whoa, I need to go listen to it. Well, who was the guy?
Yeah, it's Francis Chan. He's an incredible pastor. I'll send it to you afterwards.
Okay.
Maybe share it with him.
Yeah, I'll link it. I'll link your podcast too. She has a podcast, In This Together. I don't know if you said that before, but her podcast is so good, so everyone should go listen to it.
Thank you.
It's amazing. When I like walk to class, how I was saying earlier, sometimes I'll put in like your podcast or Lauren's podcast, and I'll like listen to it when I'm walking, and I'm like, oh, it's so good.
Awesome. I love her so much. She has greatest episodes too.
Yes, she's amazing.
I got Live Out Love. Also, do you need to make it LOL?
That's what people ask me. I feel like I should, but I feel like people are gonna be like, laugh out loud.
Yeah, I love that though. I feel like it kind of makes it like it's kind of got like a devil. You could do some funny episodes too one day. I'm like,
That's
like
true.
Like laugh
Maybe
out loud.
I will.
Live Out Love. I love that. I just thought that was a really cute acronym. You could do so many fun things with it.
Yes. No, I have to keep being creative about it. It's almost been a year that I've had the podcast, but I like kind of did it. So I'm a sophomore right now at Clemson, but last year I was like, my dream was to start a podcast. I kept praying about it, but I really felt like I was like, no, I'm going to do it after college. But then I just felt like the Lord being like, no, do it now. And so Clemson has a podcast like room in our library, so you can go and record podcasts. So that's how I started. And then I was like, it's just small. And then I like started Instagram, and people were like, no, this is so good. And so I love like having people come on it who I'm just like so inspired by their like walk with the Lord, and they give so good advice.
That is awesome. That's amazing. So
it's been fun.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I know I just had my grandma come on it too. I think I was talking to you. She's the one that has the Flourish network. Yes. And I was telling her, I was like, yes, like this girl, her name's Maia, like she's starting this one for like another like generation, not like it could be older women, but my grandma's more towards older women. And she was like, oh, like let me know. I'd love to like talk to her.
That is so cute. Me and your grandma are gonna be hanging out. I love it.
So I sent her when you like released your like website. I was like, this is her website. Like, check it out. So she's like, it's so cool. Like, I love
So
it.
sweet. Oh my gosh. I need to send her a thank you card. That is the sweetest thing. She's awesome.
I know she loved it. But I wanted to just ask you a couple questions. You probably definitely talked about this before, but especially you're being 2 years out of college now.
Yeah.
Do you 2 years, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm like a sophomore right now. What do you think? I know like you've talked in your podcast before about how sophomore year was kind of like your turning point of just like a relationship with your Lord. Do you have advice for just people in that? Because I feel like right now, sophomore year is kind of like a slump for me where I'm like, okay, like what am I supposed to be doing? Are these the right friends? You know, I'm kind of like stuck in this place, and I've just been praying a lot of like, okay, like is this where I'm meant to be? A lot of times where I love Clemson, but it's a lot of times of just like I'm getting so much anxiety for no reason. I don't know why, but then, you know, so I just love your advice on any of that.
Yeah, that is so good. I think that I think sophomore, it's like freshman year, you're just kind of getting into it. So, everything's like shiny and new. And then sophomore year, like you're kind of like in it and you're like, oh, wow, this is college, like this is what it's like. And every time I've been so blessed to get to go to like a lot of college campuses, and something that I just like always think about when I come back is I'm like, man, it's only 4 years, like it is only 4 years that you are around that many people your same age. Like you probably will never be like that in a place like that ever again in your life. Like, and I think that if I could go back and like tell my sophomore year self something, it'd be to enjoy, like there's so many incredible parts about college, but enjoy the people that you are around. Like find like truly like make memories with the people around you. And like I wasn't in the same situation where I didn't have, and I don't know about you, but I didn't have like any Christian community, like hardly any. And I think that that is something that I would have sought out so much more in my sophomore year, is just like when I had other friends that I loved hanging out with and whatnot. And but I felt like there was only a certain amount of like depth that we could get into because, I like whenever like on Friday night came, I would stay in and watch a movie, and then they would be out doing things that I like didn't believe that I should be doing. And I would like we get to hang out the next morning, but we just didn't get to spend that much time together because of we truly were just like living such different lives, which is so something that I feel like a lot of people experience in college. And I wish that I would have, instead of just like been content about like living that life by myself, I feel like I wish I just would have brought more people in, because the odds are wherever you are in college, there are so many people feeling your same way of like wanting to like hang out or do fun things that like don't involve like drinking or whatnot, like people want that. And like, I just wish, like I saw it so much my senior year. Like, I feel like that was the year where like, just like everyone was like kind of tired of doing the same old thing. They wanted to do new things. And I'm like, dang it. Like, I wish I would have done that sooner. And so I feel like, if you kind of feel like you're maybe like on the edge of, just like kind of feeling a little stagnant or whatnot, like I think like that 4-year thing like really helped me, and then just praying like, Lord, would you just like show me people or like things that I can invite people to or like do with people to kind of like make our time like fun. Like even here, because we only live in West Palm for 6 months out of the year. And so it could be really easy for us to be like, oh, well, like we're only here for 6 months. Why bother like, really creating like, and like the relationships. But truly, like one of the best things that we've done since we've been here is invite. And we have just been inviting people over for game nights. Like we do one every week. And it has just given me so like during the week, like I'm sure for y'all, like you're in school, like there's a lot of things going on. And to me, it's like, okay, Thursday night or like Tuesday night, like we do it like changing days because like obviously things happen. And we're like, okay, we're like, during the week, I'm like, I get to have my Thursday night game night and hang out and just like have fun. It's just something that like I feel like brings joy in the middle of like kind of like the mundane of life. Like you get to decide, like you get to control like your schedule in the sense of like what like joy you add into it, like with people and the people of the Lord, and like being with people like that is just truly adds joy to my life. And so I would say like the best thing, like as far as like just like being in school and as far as like friendships and like just like that 4 years, I would just be like, the best thing I could say is like invite. Like I feel like too in college, so many people are just waiting to be invited. Like they just don't have anyone who like, we're all like, I don't know, like at least for me, it's like, you're kind of like maybe nervous or like, to invite somebody, especially in college. Post-grad, I'm kind of more like, okay, if they say no, I don't have to see them every day, but in college, it's like, oh, I might run into them. And then so tell her. And so
Mhm.
I think just like really like being like, you know what, like this invite could change like their whole entire semester. Like it took one person for me to meet in West Palm to change our Chance and I's both entire time in West Palm, and like
Wow.
to spend time with them. And even like in college, like I had like one or two friends who really follow the Lord, and like those one or two friends
Mhm.
like my whole college experience, and we had fun. And I think that is just something that I can't like honestly stress enough, is just like having being an inviting person in college and like making those memories, you know. And it's not, it doesn't have to be extravagant, it doesn't have to be like traveling or whatever. Like for us, like one of my favorite college memories is whenever I got all my friends in my house to go bowling. Like literally
Oh,
one
that's so fun.
of like not crazy or anything, but it was like one of my favorite memories because we all got to do that together, and I like will always remember it. So I think if like you're feeling any stagnance, like there's a difference too. Like if you really feel like the Lord's like maybe really like doesn't have you in Clemson, like that's something obviously
Yeah,
like really pray about. But I feel like if you're just feeling like that stagnant, like
right.
reminding yourself that like you like can control that, and like ask the Lord to like give you ideas to invite and whatnot. Because I definitely felt that same way too. And I wish that somebody would have told me that, because it took me till junior, senior year to kind of
Mhm.
start to realize that. So I think that hopefully you can learn a little bit sooner than
Yes.
I.
No, I love that. I think for me, I feel like it's definitely a thing, like a worldly perspective of like, oh,
Yeah.
like if they didn't invite me, like I shouldn't invite them, you know, that thing. And so I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of people are like, you just have to be like, no, like you can
Yeah.
still like be a loving person and go out of your way. And like if you want to spend time with these people, obviously if they're not giving you the time of day, like
Yeah.
don't. But I think that's such a good advice. 'Cause I feel like there's like a
Yeah.
stigma around like, oh, but like it has to be like a two-sided, you know, like you have to invite, but they have to invite you, that thing. So I
Yeah.
really like that. I feel like a lot of people like that's kind of what gets in their way of friendships is like
Yeah.
this like weird thing, like, oh, they're hanging out with these people, but not me. Like, oh, I didn't get invited. Like that whole like
Yeah.
insecure, like stubborn thing where I feel like a lot of
Right.
times like you don't even know what you're doing in college, like 2 hours, like two
Exactly.
hours later. Like, so I feel like it's a cool like a reminder to know like don't get butthurt if someone doesn't invite you. Like if you want to invite them, like do it, you know. So that was really
Truly,
good.
sometimes I think we could be so like we think that the world is against us, you know, that
Yeah.
like these people
Yeah.
they purposely didn't invite us or whatnot, and it's like that is a lot of times like not the case. Like it's really not that like deep. Like
Mhm.
even I remember in college, like we would all be in the house and be like, "Oh, do y'all want to get ice cream?" And we go get ice cream. You know, it wasn't like a
Yeah.
super thought out like, "Oh, we forgot to invite so
Exactly.
we go down the hall." It was just like you're sitting in your room and you're like, you know, go do this. But
Yeah.
something that I love that you pointed that out about like we can kind of get her about, like, because now I'm in post
Mhm.
grad, like it does take being like a little bit more intentional. You know, I don't have
Right.
people. I don't have 56 girls in my house. You know, like that was a fun
Exactly.
time, but I don't have that anymore. And I will say, like, there's definitely like that, you know, desire, like that sinful, you know, kind of like, oh well, I've invited them
Mhm.
to things, and
Right.
they've been over here at my house 3 times, but I haven't even been over there to their house. And because of we've been here for like 6 months, and I'll just give you this
Mhm.
story like an example just to like encourage somebody, because I think that sometimes we forget it takes a while to develop relationships. Like
Mhm.
not always is it after 1 or 4 hangouts that you feel like you have a relationship with somebody. And that's what I really learned here, is like, you know, we've invited people over to our house. We've had like so many different things. I would say probably like 5 weeks of like inviting people, and like we'll all like maybe go for a walk or something, but no one's like ever invited like all the couples over or anything.
Mhm.
And I remember it was like it was a few weeks. So it was like getting to be like 2 months, and I'm like, okay. But I remember I just was very confident in the fact that I was like, I felt the enemy coming in and be like, they don't want to hang out with you. Like you're just, and I was like, you know what? No. Like I was like, that is not from the Lord. Like that is not from the Lord. And I just prayed. I was like, God, would you just put it on somebody's heart to like have game night this week, you know? And then literally the next day, somebody texted was like, hey, I
Oh.
want to have game night this week. And I think just like being open about like whenever you feel those things, you know, just like telling the Lord, like, you know, I want to rely on truth and whatnot. And it was just sweet because now I feel like we're all like building relationships and we're like taking a trip. But I say that because I think we sometimes think it's instantaneous, and we
Mhm.
give up after like 2 months. We're like, oh, you know, like, you know, this might not be working, you know, and whatnot. And it's like, no, like just like keep being the inviter, and like what's the worst that can come from it? You know, you get told no, maybe it's
Mhm.
like move on to the next friend. You know, I think that has really, and maybe that's not a friend that you'll have in your life, and just move on to the next, allow the Lord to direct your path. And I think that is one way of just like not giving up instantly. Like,
Yeah,
think about how many times the Lord has pursued you to have a relationship with you. I think you
exactly.
have to like the first 2 months, he was like, no, and I think that, and then once you build the relationship, like now that we're all becoming friends, now there's that sense of accountability of like, hey, we're going to kind of go
Mhm.
back and forth and like ask each other and hang out. But that takes a friendship to be built in order to like kind of expect that, if that makes sense.
Right. No, that's so good. I love that you kind of brought up accountability too. Do you have like any advice for just in college, out of college, just like friendship with like accountability, especially like with your walk with Christ at all?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so good. I would say that is something in college I felt like I didn't have
Hmm.
that accountability like person in my life, like my sophomore year. And I think that's probably why I like flailed around so much and was a disaster. And so I would say really my sophomore year, I and like my sophomore, junior, like senior year, like towards the end of those is whenever I really kind of started to like seek after that. And one was chance actually came into my life. And
Hmm.
for me, I didn't have any girlfriends who necessarily wanted to live that life. And so it was really cool to me to have a chance to kind of like talk about different things and talk about, okay, like I used to do this, but now like, how do I, change and start, not going out and drinking and all this different stuff, like
Right.
how do I do that and also not make my friends feel ashamed or like, you know what I mean? Like, how do I love them well? And all this different stuff. And so I'd say it is so important to find somebody that you can. And then afterwards, actually, my junior year is whenever I found Isla, who's one of my great friends, or I guess that was my senior year. And she really just helped me so much of just like, it was being around her. It wasn't even necessarily that I had to like talk to her about everything, which I
Mhm.
definitely did whenever it came to like Chance and I's relationship and like staying pure for for marriage and like waiting for marriage. I talked to her a lot about that, which I was so thankful. And that's somebody who like something like you like find that person, you don't need to go sharing that off the rooftops,
Yeah.
but finding that one person for something like that. But I will say like what was so cool about like the other, like whether it was like drinking and all that kind of stuff, because that was a big part of my testimony. I one thing that was so cool about hanging out with Isla and like that one friend is like, if I needed to talk about it, I definitely could. And if you have to,
Mhm.
100% do it. And if you feel like you need to, 100%. But even just hanging out with her, like I was like, okay, like I don't feel like I need to, like I didn't even feel that desire anymore. And I think
Right.
that there are people, believe it or not, like there are people that you can hang out with and like you won't have the desire to like drink and party and all those different things. Like you have the desire to do other things. And like that was like kind of mind blowing to me because like that's even in high school, that's all I really knew. And then freshman, sophomore
Mhm.
year. And so I think that was what was so cool is like getting around people where I was like, oh, like after you go home and you hang out with them, you're like, wait, I didn't even feel like I needed to like drink or do this or
Yeah.
that. Like I just feel like we got to hang out,
Yeah.
and like just finding people like that, that can have fun, doing other things. And I think that the people that drink definitely 100% can. But I think that they're just maybe don't see it yet, or maybe that's just not a desire of their heart yet. And
Mhm.
I think that was just something that was really helpful for me is just finding, I had like chances long distance, which was great. So definitely being on the same page with whoever you're dating, because if
Mhm.
not, one of you is going to give in and it's probably going to be the one who, unfortunately, sometimes it can be really hard to stand on truth. And you're going to, like, if you always have somebody who's tempting you, at one point you might end up giving in. So I feel like definitely being on the same page with your partner, with the person that you're like dating or whatnot.
Yeah.
And then I think that being also having that balance of having that with a friend too, like with somebody who's like the same sex, like, Isla, I can talk to her and she'll understand things, about girl relationships and all that kind of stuff, so that just really helped. And even keeping you accountable. I mean, we think obviously, I think back to like drinking, but even like, and you think of like drinking and sex when you think about accountability, I feel like, but also when you think about, just gossip or,
Mhm.
gossip or like how you're treating people or how you're talking with the Lord, like that is so important to have somebody that you could just like talk to about those things. And I think something that would really help if you're trying to be accountable in any of those areas is like maybe meeting once a week and just like getting like coffee or like doing something where like you don't just are in a group situation and you're just like, able to kind of like let things slide, where you're like in a maybe one-on-one situation where it's like, hey, like, let's talk about how you're really doing, like how you're really feeling kind of thing. So that's kind of a lot of different advice, but something that I definitely learned a lot from, making a lot of mistakes. And so hope that helps.
No, I love that. I do this thing with one of my friends where every Wednesday we'll do like a phone call and we'll like just talk about like what's going on in the week. How can we help each other? But in the end, it ends up just being like, I'm struggling. Like I need help. Like I'm stressed about the future. I'm like anxious about this. And it's so cool because like we'll just be able to like pray for one another or like just like get that like godly advice about that. And I feel like I recommend anyone doing that because I feel like being busy, like she goes to Clemson too, but we're so busy that we're never on the same schedule. But like having that one time in the day to just like have a phone call has like really helped me with just like change my perspective on a lot of things. And I want to add too, like having a friend like with accountability too. I like think it's so important to have friends who like fill you up, like kind of how you said, like wanting you to grow, like be strong on your faith, wanting to do that with you. Because if you don't have a friend that's wanting, like after you hang out, you feel like drained, like that isn't someone that you should be friends with. And I think that for me, that was so hard because I feel like in high school, I was definitely like trying to be friends with the people that probably weren't good for me. And after I'd be like, why do I feel like this? Like I'm miserable. Like I'm mean. And then in college I try to like gain those friendships who, like would want point me to the Lord. I just feel so like joyful now and like filled up and like know they have your back. And it's just such a difference when like you're on the same path, that kind of like aligning with the same views as your friends. So
that's real. And I love that you say it, because there's different relationships for different things. Like there you have friendships that like fill you up, and then you maybe have friendships that maybe they aren't believers. Like I think it's just so important to make sure you have friends that are believers that you can talk about, that you can fill each other up, and then that way whenever like you have friendships of people that you still love, like even family relationships or friendships, you're like, man, I still love you so much. But it's like I can't really like talk about, like if I talk to you about like the boundaries that I'm setting right now in my relationship, you're not going to understand. So it's like that's kind of I love that you said that. I think that's a really good point.
Yeah, it was so cool. Like I said earlier, I was recording with my grandma and I was like asking her some advice, and she was like, I think the best advice for anyone just in their walk with faith is like, you're gonna be different. People aren't gonna like you, but like you're gonna have to be okay with being different. But like the Lord's gonna like show you to the friends and to the people that are gonna like you for like why you're being different, like why you're like having your walk with faith. And so I feel like that's so cool too, to tie in of being like, okay, like the people that like me for me and who want to like be on my like path of the Lord, like those are the people that are going to help you. But also you're going to inspire the people that maybe like don't know Jesus, which is cool because they're going to be like, oh, she's different, or they're going to judge you and be like, oh, she's weird. But then they're going to see the light in what you like is happening in your life and why it's different, So
and it takes a lot of courage to be weird and different. And like, I think that's something that we kind of forget. Like it can be really easy in like a social media day to want to be like everybody else.
Yeah, exactly.
That doesn't really like take that much courage, but it takes courage to be different and to walk with the Lord. And, I think that's a beautiful thing that the Lord also gives you. It's not like I have this courage that like I've been working on. It's like, no, that's God given. That's what happens when you walk with the Lord. Like that's why you can stand on that rock and be a little different.
And I feel like it's definitely hard too in like a college campus, especially just because like, I mean, even on the outside, everyone's wearing the same thing, but I feel like it's different too because like you kind of saying earlier how you had those friends that you could just like go get ice cream with, and like then you saw people that were just going out, and it's definitely like hard to be the black sheep, like go out of the way. But when you're like not the black sheep, I'm sorry, but when you're like the one out of the 99 and just kind of like going away from the crowd, it definitely does change your perspective on things and like how you're like doing college too, which it gets better over time, but it's hard for sure. Well, thank you so much for saying all that. I did have another question about just like your like quiet time with the Lord. I feel like I struggled so much with having quiet time in the mornings, and then like I would do it at night or like in the day. And then when I came back for this semester for college, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make it like a habit to just do it in the morning. And now I wake up and I like am so excited to like read my Bible in the morning. And it's so cool. But I didn't know if you had like tips or anything, because I feel like sometimes I will just read, and I'm like, okay, like I read, but like,
Yeah.
how do you kind of just like sit and just be still with the Lord?
Good. That's so good. That's something that I feel like I've learned a lot this past year.
Mhm.
As I was like, I just can like I loved like I feel like I never really I knew the Lord, I knew His Word, but like I knew it in bits and pieces, not really like the whole like story. And I would like remember verses and different things, but I really just felt this desire to like truly like learn more about the character of God and like just like the Bible. Like I just wanted to like know it and desired
Mhm.
to. And I started this. I don't know where this came from, but I was like, you know what? What really, really helped me is whenever I read any book in the Bible, I will like whenever I go and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start at the beginning of the book. I'm gonna do like a day of just like researching. Like for example, I'm in Numbers right now. So before I went through Numbers, I literally like looked at Numbers and I was like, okay, looking up Numbers, what exactly is gonna happen? Like just give me a broad overview. Like there's like the Bible Project, looked up like a
Yeah.
video or something or whatnot, just kind of like preparing my mind and my heart for like what I was about to read because context is so important. Like especially if you're somebody who like if you're going to be reading like the Old Testament, which everyone should. I love the Old Testament so much,
Mhm.
but I think that if you don't understand the context of what's going on and you just take like a random verse out of there, it's like you completely miss the entire point of what the Lord's trying to say. So that's really why I started wanting to read everything like book by book, and then I eventually was like, I want to start reading the book by book and I want to go like back to the beginning because I feel like I'm like, what happened last chapter? What happened at the beginning? So
Yeah.
what I've kind of done is I started at Genesis and then I've gone through like Genesis and like everything since like Leviticus, Numbers, all in order. And I will just go through. So I started in Genesis and I did my little research for the day. The next day, I start at Genesis 1 and I'll read. I just pray right before I read, and I'm just like, Lord God, like, show me your character. Like, I want to know you more. And I'll just pray that. And then I will read till like maybe I don't understand something, or I'll
Mhm.
say I read from Genesis, all of Genesis 1 that day. I'll
Mhm.
read all of Genesis 1 and then I go to commentary because as much as I think I understand something, commentary will always blow your mind where you're like, oh, like this is I understood this, but now I understand it so much deeper because of the commentary. So I'll do that. And then there's some days where say I get to Genesis 1:1 and I like literally the first verse is something that just hits my heart. And the Holy Spirit has that ability and I just don't understand it or I just love it. I'll just take the day to just meditate on that. Like I will
Mhm.
like I really I am think that like having your set routine of waking up in the morning and like always like read with the Lord, that is like the most important thing. And then whenever you get into your actual quiet time, truly letting the Holy Spirit lead you and just like
Mhm.
but I think such a great practice for me has been like how that looks practically is I start, at the beginning of the book and then I'll go Genesis 1 and then the next day I'll read Genesis 2. And then I'll do
Mhm.
like a little, if I get through the whole thing, then I get through the whole thing. Sometimes I'll read Genesis 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 because I'm loving the story so much. And I'm just like, so eager. Like I just really depends on, how the Holy Spirit's leading me that day. And I really depend on that whenever, and that's why like I pray at the beginning, and the days that I forget to pray, I literally almost always go like halfway through and I'm like, wait, I didn't pray. And that's like totally changing how I'm seeing this right now. Like, Lord, I want to pray that I'm not trying to get anything out of this, for me or whatever. Like, I'm
Mhm.
just trying to learn more about you is always like my prayer.
Yeah.
And we can deepen our relationship. Like, let's have fun together this morning. Like, let's just show me who you are, kind of thing. And that really helps. And something at the very end that I'll do during the day, some days and some days I won't do it. Is I'll like in my journal, I'll write like a little bit about like what I, like maybe there's something that I really liked, like in Numbers or whatever. And that's something that Moses did, and I'm like, I love that he did this. And just as a reminder, where if I'm going back the next day, I can kind of look at that and be like, oh, I loved reading that. Or, if there's a thought that comes to my head that I want to journal about, I'll journal about it, So I feel
Yeah.
like that has been like truly like life changing in the way that I see scripture now and the way that I understand it and the way that I can even recall like stories from it, like I never used to be able to do any of that. And it was something that I was so insecure about because I was like, gosh, like I love you, Lord, but I don't know any of your truth. I don't know any of your stories, like how other people, I'm like, how can they like explain the stories? And I learned that for me, I wasn't going to be able to just like read a verse one day and then just like that be in my mind forever. I have somebody who like I learned the best through stories, through like understanding the like what happened and what took place. Like
Right.
even think about it, you know, when people share with you like a random quote, like yes, sometimes that'll stick in your brain, but whenever they tell you like a story of, you know, so and so did this and whatnot, it's like those are the things that sometimes, I mean, I think that's like there's even a purpose, there's tons of purposes as why Jesus spoke in parables. But I mean, he was telling you stories, you know, that you kind of so that way you, and Ben Stewart said it in a really great way that, you know, the parables, like Jesus could have so easily like just said it word for word, but what he was doing is he was trying to, you know, like sift out the people who were going to really truly like follow and like, you know, put like follow the Lord versus the ones who are just going to like hear it and just be like, oh, whatever, you know, like he wanted to see, you know, the people that were going to truly follow. So that's just one of the several reasons why the Lord spoke or Jesus spoke in parables. But it's just so, I feel like just a really great way for me to learn. And so if you're somebody right now who you don't know where to start, or even you're like, I don't know where to start. I first was doing it with like Romans and the New Testament. And then, you know what? I'm going to start from the very beginning. And I just loved it. Like watching the Israelites, like in their journey to the promised land and all that. It's incredible. So, cannot recommend that. Yeah.
No, that's so inspiring. I'm reading through the parables right now, which is funny that you brought that up. But no, I really want to start. I want to start doing, I don't know if I'll do this. We'll see. But I want to do like switch off like from Old Testament, New Testament, kind of like in my quiet times and kind of like see like the difference. Someone told me that they do that and they like love it. And I think it's in, I don't know, Bible in a year recap. Sometimes they do that. But yeah, that's really inspiring. I feel like I need to go back and read Numbers now.
Yeah. And if you don't understand something too, that's what I've just found. It's like not moving past something if you don't understand. Like I do not move past something. Like if there's something in like Numbers where I'm like just so confused, you know, about why they put the snake on the pole or whatever, you know, I'm like, you know, what in the world? It's like, I'm not going to move past that until I have like peace and clarity to move past it. Because I want to like, I don't want to like later on, like a few weeks later, be doubting the Lord, you know, because of something that I read and I didn't understand, if that makes sense. I feel like that is just something that to me, it's like, I really want to like pray for clarity on it. Like, even if it takes me a week of like sitting on that verse and like, you know, really trying to understand or asking like people like, hey, what did this, like, you know, that are, you know, that know the Lord more than me or that know like the scripture more than me. I'm like, okay, how do you understand this or whatnot? So important.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's amazing. Thank you for that advice. I guess going off of that too, are you a big reader at all, like with books?
I do love books. I don't always get the time to read, which I need to be about, but whenever baseball season starts, I'll have a lot of time to read because I get a little less busy, which is super nice. Well, a little less busy with my work and then just focusing more. I want to like really be there for chance. So I will definitely have more time to read, but yes, I love.
Do you have any book recommendations for anyone?
Oh my gosh, so many. The book I'm holding is beautiful and really has changed my life recently. And then I love, like when I was first coming to my faith, and even now, I love going back and reading Bob Goff's books, like just all of them. Everybody Always, Love Does, Dream Big, all of the ones, because I just love, he's somebody who shares a lot of stories, you know, and I could not love his books more, truly. And then there's so many other ones, and then Revolutionary to Friendships, which kind of what we talked about earlier, Find Your People by Jenny Allen.
Yes, I'm reading that right now.
I like kept on like picking it up and then setting down, picking it up, setting down. Yeah. And I finally finished it, and I was just like in love with the whole book. Like once I got through like the middle of it, I literally just sat and read it every night because I loved it so much. So I felt like it was a really great book, and it taught me a lot.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I was like, I found actually I have it right here. For my like Bible studies for chaplain, they have like the little like like study guide. So I was like, I might do it with people for my Bible study, which that book is like has been changing my perspective of friendship right now.
Praise to Love by Francis Chan is really good too.
Yes, okay, that one. Is that the one that you said you listened to the podcast?
I listened to his podcast of it, but that was a random podcast episode, but he's a same guy.
Okay. Wait, what was the book called again?
It's called Crazy Love by Francis Chan. Relationships books, obviously Ben Stewart's Single Dating Engaged Married. just
life-changing.
life-changing. So good. So those are some fun ones.
Yes. No, thank you. Have you ever read Captivating?
No, I have. That's actually next on my list.
It's
After
so good.
I need to finish Beholding, and then that is one of the ones next on the list.
Yeah, it's amazing. You have to read it. I can't.
Truly, such great things about it.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Do you have anything else before we end this at all, or?
No, I'm just so proud of you and keep doing what you're doing. And
You.
I can't wait to see how you continue to invite not just people on the podcast, but just people in life and how you truly live out love. So, so thankful that you had me on today and just praying blessings over this. And thank you for just making this such a fun, casual, truth-filled conversation.
No, I love this. And everyone go check out Overflow, right? That's what it's called?
Okay. Yeah, that's so sweet. Thank you.
February 1st.
Yes,
I can't wait.
That'll be awesome. And it's also too a great one if like you have if you because I know you mentioned your chaplain, like if you ever wanted to do it, like it's 30 days, but if you wanted to, there's 15 there's so you could split it into two that sets of 15 and there's 15 weeks in each semester. So you could like have your whole Bible study plan for the whole thing for like a whole year. If you wanted to do something like that, maybe like with a group of friends or the sorority or whatnot. That's just a fun idea to kind of think about too.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely be looking at that. Yeah, that's amazing. But well, thank you so much, guys, for listening, and thank you, Maia, for coming on. And we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.